I'm gonna sing the song, okay? Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round till morning, and from morning round till night. Help me hit the drum. Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round till morning, and from morning round till night. Well done. Hi, it's Ken coming to you live, well, not live, but coming to you from here in my backyard. I live in Berry City, right on the outskirts of the city. If we were one block over, we'd be in Berrytown. And let you know that because you can go outside anywhere you are and still have some eco time, maybe you're in the after school program, you can have some explorers or trekkers time right in your backyard. And I also wanted to let you know that because there may or may not be some cars coming through behind us. So, and if that happens while I'm telling my story, I'll just pause the story for a little bit, wait for the cars to go by, and then resume the story. Are you ready for a story? All right. This is a true story, like all of my stories. And this story takes place at the North Branch Nature Center. And it took place about 8 years ago when I first started working there. Now, I grew up in Ohio and had traveled around all the country, but I'd never been to Vermont. We moved to Vermont for my job and my wife's job. We had just moved here, and I was about to get started working summer camps at the Nature Center, but I had never been out on the trails before. So I decided I needed to get out and explore the trails and really learn what was out there, because that's where I was going to be teaching. So I got my backpack all packed up. I had my lunch, had my water bottle, had some snacks. I had my hiking boots, and this was in springtime, about May, early May, I think. So a little bit further along than what we are right now in this spring. So I had some extra layers in there too, including a rain jacket because it rains a lot in the spring. I started off hiking, had my hiking stick with me. I was walking along the trails, going down past the 2 white birches, going down the trail towards the bridge. I crossed across the bridge, over the bridge, to the North Branch River Park, across the river. And I started hiking up the trails there. And as I started going up the hill, I heard a sound off in the bushes next to me. And I stopped. And I looked. And I thought I saw some movement down underneath the bush a little bit. So I sat there and waited to see if I could see what it was. See if there's an animal or something in there, right? I crouched down, and I waited about 5 minutes, and I didn't see anything. But you know what I did? I got back up, and I started hiking again. And after a while, I hiked about another mile or so. I got hungry, so I stopped for a snack. And I took my backpack off, and I set it down on the ground, and I heard another sound. This time, it was kind of a crashing sound in the leaves off to my right in the forest. And I stopped, and I looked, and I saw a deer standing, looking at me. This deer was a buck. You know what a buck is? It's a male deer, right? That's antlers. Give me antlers. Yeah, the buck was staring right at me. Staring right at me. And you know what it did?
What?
It lifted its front hoof and pounded it on the ground. And its ears were pointing right at me. I watched it, and it watched me. And then it lifted its tail up in the air, and it bounded through the forest, waving its tail goodbye as it bounded away. I watched it disappear into the woods. I finished my snack and continued hiking. About another half mile or so, I heard something behind a bush. It's about from me to the tree over there. Not very far, right? It's not very far. So I stopped, and I definitely saw something this time. Something was moving behind the bush. I saw the branches sway a little bit, and I saw some movement down on the ground below it. So I stopped, and I waited, and I was gonna wait however long I needed to figure out what this was. And as I waited, I hunched down like this, squatted down, and I watched, and I waited, and I waited, and I watched. And finally, something moved from behind the bush. I looked at the top of the bush. The bush was about this high, and I saw fingertips rising up from behind the bush. The whole hand came out from behind the bush. But it wasn't just any hand. It was a giant hand. This hand was twice as wide as my hand and twice as long as my hand. And that's not all. It was covered in green moss. Like it had a glove made out of moss. I thought this was really strange because I'd never seen a giant green hand before. And I was a little scared. My heart was beating a little bit fast and really loud. But I stayed still because I wanted to see what this thing was going to do. I had no idea what it was. It reached up, and it grabbed a bright green leaf from a branch above it. It pulled that leaf down and disappeared behind the bush. I could see movement at the bottom of the bush where there weren't any branches. It looked like it was moving things around with its hands. And after another minute, you know what I saw?
What?
I saw the hand come up again. It reached up, and this time it took a dead twig, snapped it right off the branch. It pulled it down behind the bush. And I saw movement again at the bottom of the bush, like it was rearranging something. Got my fire blower here. And I was getting really curious. What was this thing behind the bush with the giant green hands, and what was it doing? And my curiosity started getting the best of me. So, you know what I decided to do?
What?
I decided I was gonna creep up closer to see if I can see what it was. So I got up, hunkered down like this. I took a step, took another step, creeping up slowly to the bush. You know what happened next? There was a stick on the ground about this big. You know what happened to that stick?
What?
I stepped on it, and it snapped. And there was a sudden movement behind the bush. Everything shook. Whatever it was heard that stick snap, that little tiny twig snapped. I froze. My heart beat really fast in my chest. Because I was scared, because whatever it was knew I was there now. And then something crazy happened. You want to know what happened? I saw movement behind the bush again. I saw the top of a head poke up from behind the bush. And it had hair. But it wasn't like my hair, brown. It wasn't like your hair, brown. It was green. Green hair. And it didn't look like hair like ours. It looked like it was made out of ferns and grass. Long blades of grass and ferns. And it's kind of messy, sticking all over the place. And then it stood up taller. I saw the forehead and the eyebrows. The forehead was all green moss. The eyebrows were crazy. You know what they were?
What?
They were big, bushy, green caterpillars. They were moving a little bit. They stood up taller, and I saw its eyes. Each eye was this big, almost as big as my face, as big as your face. And they were bright green as emeralds.
Wow, that's as green as the person roses on.
Exactly.
That's as green as these.
I know. It stood up taller, and I saw the entire face. It had a great big long beard made out of lichen and ferns. And it stood up taller, and I saw its nose and its shoulders. It was standing twice as wide as me. It was 6 feet wide. It stood taller and taller and taller. It looked like he was wearing a coat made out of leather, like an old leather coat that was left in the woods for years and had moss growing on top of it. And big acorn cap buttons. And it stood up taller, and I saw its legs. And its legs were as big as round as tree trunks. In fact, they looked like tree trunks. And it stood up and stepped out from behind the bush. And you know what it did?
What?
It raised its hand and looked right down at me like this. And it went like this. And it spoke. It said, "Hi."
Instantly, I can sit down.
And then it turned and started walking away. But when it walked, it did something really interesting. It left no footprints because it didn't actually have feet. The earth, when it took a step, opened up around the leg and closed up on the other side, like it was gliding through the ground. And it took 5 steps and disappeared into the forest. And after a couple minutes, when I calmed myself down again, because I was really worked up, it was kind of scary, but not too scary because it seemed friendly. I got up and I went over to it behind the bush to see what it was working on. And I saw on the ground a picture. And you know what that picture was made out of?
What?
Out of sticks and leaves. It was a picture of the deer that I saw that was looking at me before on my hike. Now, ever since then, when I go out in the woods, or outside anywhere really, I look for art like that left from the Green Man. That's what I call this man. I call him the Green Man because he's all green. That makes sense? And sometimes I see art left from the Green Man. Sometimes it's finger paint green on tree branches. Sometimes it's a bunch of sticks stacked up in interesting piles. Sometimes it's stacks of stones. And you know what I like to do for the Green Man sometimes? Since he leaves artwork for me, I like leaving artwork for him to find sometimes. So my challenge for you is to go out and make some Green Man art for the Green Man and other people to find. It could be in your neighborhood on the sidewalk. It could be at the North Branch Nature Center on our trails. Could be in Hubbard Park. Could be any local park that you have. Another idea of what you can do is you can take a rock, any rock, about this big. You can paint it, whatever color you want, and paint a message on it. You know what we call those?
What?
We call those kindness stones. And you can take those stones and you can leave them throughout town or throughout a park for other people to find. And I like to think that when people find those, it makes them happy. Do you like making people happy? You think we should make some art? Would that be fun?
Yeah, I got a silly idea.
All right, you can tell me that silly idea. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day. Enjoy the sun and make some Green Man art.